I know we're about halfway through the time we had to chat, and I want to get into my biomarkers, unpack a little bit of the science and connect that directly to the symptoms that I was kind of sharing. And I'm going to start with the whole neurotransmitters because that was something that I'd never connected the dots, heard about cortisol before, and dopamine and serotonin and all of that just a little bit, but not as it relates to mental health or addiction. And when I look at the research now to better educate myself, I see that the fact that I had a traumatic brain injury alone, that alone can cause neurotransmitter leakage in my brain, disruptions in my neurotransmitter levels, and just imbalances as well, all caused by a TBI. And looking just at the different peer-reviewed articles and research out there, that the fact that my neurotransmitters are out of balance can lead to cognitive impairments. Check. Mood disturbances like anxiety, depression. Check. Sleep issues. Check. Fatigue, chronic fatigue. Guess what? Check. Again. And to bring some of the data here, my serotonin, way outside the recommended range, high as can be, which can cause increased anxiety, increased agitation, IBS even. Wait, what? That's a whole one I never even would have thought of.
Yeah.
But my serotonin was almost off the charts, and taking an SSRI is just going to raise it, right?
That's exactly right, Dave. And so that's the danger of prescribing based on vocabulary. You might have come in and one of the vocabulary words that you used could have been depression, or maybe that's what your prescriber heard was major depressive disorder. That's terrifying because in the Wired Biohealth panel, off the top of my head, we have at least 5 neurotransmitters that are responsible for mood regulation, and depression is just one of the vocabulary words that can be used with that. If you are thinking that depression and SSRIs go together, you're wrong, because exactly what you said, you had low mood, but your serotonin was high. And so you're prescribed things empirically that are going to make your problem worse. So had we done the biomarker testing to determine where your serotonin was, we'd be able to figure out a way to reduce it, because everybody has something called a reference range, and that's based on age and their sex assigned at birth. So throughout your life, nobody's going to say, well, you need 5 neurotransmitters or whatever, right? That's going to go up and down based on what I just said, your age and gender. So once we understand that serotonin is high, let's look at the other neuroscience biomarkers, so the neurotransmitters. Let's look at the hormones and also consider those genetic single nucleotide polymorphisms, because those systems work together and it's never just one thing in the body. The body is always going to seek balance. So I'm sure we're going to discuss how serotonin was a problem, but so were a bunch of other things. And so that's why you have to look at it all as one picture together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so I started with serotonin because I feel like that's the most well-known.
Yep.
But also mine was extremely high, and they were trying, let's increase it. And yeah, but as we continue to look at my markers, my dopamine, my norepinephrine, my epinephrine were all low. So was my histamine and my PEA, because I don't want to try to say that word. But all of these were low, and they're all associated, like you're saying, with what? Depression, mood changes, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, difficulty stay focused, that lower drive as well, affecting digestion, appetite control. They're all related to that. And that links back to those symptoms, the sleep, the PTSD, the anxiety, the depression, the chronic fatigue as well. And that just ability to feel joy.
Yep. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Dave. And I think for a lot of men your age, it's like, where's my testosterone level? Like that's everybody's first go to. It's got to be low.
I've had people say, "Oh, you need TRT. You're getting old. You're over 30." Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And it's funny because Wired Biohealth, we can include androgens. So those are sex hormones if a client wants, but that's not where we start because so infrequently are sex hormones the problem. Sometimes it's their DHEA, sometimes it's their cortisol, but we need to start with the low lying fruit of the neurotransmitters and those primary hormones because once those are regulated, we oftentimes see that the sex hormones fall in place. So I can count the amount of times that, yep, it was testosterone. It's usually not, but if you're going based on symptom presentation and vocabulary, I'd be saying, yeah, check your T. I don't know. It sounds like all the things you just said could be related. And of course, they could be. There's a reason why we attribute certain characteristics to certain neurotransmitters, but we have to do testing to determine if that's really the culprit.